Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Jack Kelly. We are looking back at Fulham's victory against Al Ittihad in Portugal. Jack is in Portugal, so he'll give us some insight on what he watched. I'll share what I watched, and we're just going to have a good time talking more Fulham. And I would highly recommend rewatching Jack's show. I just watched it. It was actually live on X. Now we're live on X, basically just doing more talk because, Jack, we need more and more talk on Fulham as much as we can get. I'm not done talking about this match, so I thought let's not have Jack on. Let's have Jack on. There's a Goldman for you, and let's continue the conversation about Fulham because I love talking Fulham. Before I go on any further, I do want to mention, please do check out Jack's Patreon account. He actually is going to be dropping some really good information on there. There is an interview that is going to be coming up soon. There's going to be another one as well. I'm not at liberty to say. I can mention, Jack, that one of them happens to be Harry Wilson. Can I say that now?
Because that's confirmed. That's confirmed.
Okay, that one's confirmed. I have the information on the other. I cannot mention it, but I will tell you it's going to be great. I'm going to tell you, you're going to want to hear and this interview that Jack's doing. So please do join his Patreon account. It's well worth it. I would highly recommend it. All right, Jack, let's just start here. Give me your initial reaction to this match. Tale of two halves, two different sides from Fulham. Dominant in the first half. Second half, 2 goals from Benzema, but I don't know if you can really read anything into that. I think the first half, I think you can take some stuff out of. We'll go through it. Just give me an initial reaction of what we watched today.
I thought the first half was so exciting, and the second half was quite dull and
that's a good way to put it.
But do you know what the funny thing about this is that when anyone watches games of football, and sometimes you get these games where a team just scores 3 or 4 goals in the first half. You're like, oh my God, this is incredible. This could be a cricket score. And then what always happens is the second half, they sort of wean off because, naturally you do. And maybe they score 1, maybe they score 2. But I can remember those games against Sheffield, when Sheffield United got absolutely thrashed a couple of years ago in the Premier League. There was a lot of those sort of games where the team would rush into a 4, even 5 goal lead. And then apart from Newcastle, no one would really hammer it home. And that was sort of what I was expecting on a different level in this game because we changed everything around at half time. So I was thinking, these players are going to have so much energy against this team, Al Ittihad, who are just being completely hopeless. And it didn't quite happen that way. And in the end, we ended up conceding 2 goals. And the concern for me was 9 fresh players on the pitch and the energy levels were just not quite there. And it did concern me. However, that first half performance and the players that were on the pitch, outstanding, like really outstanding.
Absolutely, Jack. And listen, I have a couple of talking points for us just to get us going into the show. Like I said, you did a great show yourself, and I'm going to actually throw a couple of interesting talking points your way because I'm curious your thoughts about this one. Because we're going to be talking about him probably throughout the show. And I watched yours, and it was inundated with talk about this player. So here we go. Do you think Josh King is making an argument to be your number 10 against Brighton Hove Albion? Fantastic goal. I want to get your thoughts on the goal in a few minutes, but I just want to talk about the maturation and the possibility of him really being involved this season. Jackie there? Looks like Jack froze there for a second. Uh-oh. So hopefully Jack will be back with me in a second because I am not seeing him. So hopefully we'll get Jack back on. But I just want to mention my thoughts on the goal, and I want to talk about the goal from Josh King. It was actually the second goal from Fulham, and looks like Jack is coming back with me. Let's see if I can get Jack back. And wow, look. Double Jacks. There we go, Jack. Oh, looks like Jack again. Oh, there you are, Jack. We're having a little bit of problems. Okay. Well, I just transitioned to the goal from Josh King because we had a little technical problem there. But let's just talk about what I mentioned before. Not just the goal by him, but just the possibility that he might be very involved this season.
Oh my word.
Okay. Oh, we're having some issues with Jack's connection, but listen, it happens. So again, I'll just share my thoughts once again. Well, we got some comments, and Chris Goodwin has commented, "Hi, Russ and Jack," and of course, then we have the two Jacks. So I think we now have Jack back. Jack, you back with us?
Yeah, I've restarted the router, so hopefully it's all good.
The beauty of doing a live show, you never know what might happen. Okay, not a problem. Maybe now we could talk about Josh King.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh was fantastic. The way he took the ball down, the way he turned, drove with the ball. He always got into the box and almost got a shot away early in the first half, but didn't quite get it. And then, of course, he scores the goal. Great volley. To find himself in that position, like 6 yards out, it's a great finish. You know, Jim on commentary said it might have come off his knee. It did not upon replay, and he realised that, but he sort of palmed it into the back of the net. Not palmed it, he volleyed it into the back of the net. Really sweet finish, and it felt as if he was the main spark of the whole first half performance.
Right.
And when he went off, we lost that spark. And that's not me pointing at Pereira and going, well, he's not quite what Josh King is, because I think that's unfair to say. But that zip that Josh brings and that sort of energy he brings and the willingness to take a man on and the willingness to sort of be brave on the ball and give him a free roll, almost a free roll, really playing in between the lines. It's just so good. And the pressing that we did, he was involved in that, won the ball back.
That's right.
We were doing so well with Josh on the pitch.
So that actually brings up a good point, because we're talking about Josh King, and because I'm thinking about projecting towards the season. And where does that put Pereira? Where does that put Emile Smith-Rowe if we see Josh King playing this role, Jack? Do you think this affects what we might see from Emile Smith-Rowe this season? Okay, looks like we have another freeze from Jack. Again, he's out in Portugal. These things happen. But I'm curious what everyone thinks about Josh King, because I'm just telling you, as Jack mentioned just a few minutes ago, he was really the difference in that first half. And you could tell the difference of the team in the second half. Team was not the same without him. Again, they freshened it up just like they did in the friendly against Nottingham Forest. It was a completely different side, except for Ryan Sessegnon and Rodrigo Muniz. It was a completely different team. So when you're dealing with that, and then you have a player that really was just the difference maker out there, that's what ends up happening. So I'm going to try again with Jack. Maybe we're going to get double Jacks again. We have double Jacks again?
Sorry, this internet has been very unpredictable. It was perfect throughout the whole stream. In terms
of
watching the Fulham game, and then my own stream, and then I come on someone else's. I promise I'm not tampering with it. It's genuinely been a bit of a nightmare.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Hopefully it holds during the show. I'm going to share a comment here we got from Black, White, and Fred, who's someone that comments a lot on this show. If King offers some pressing ability of Andreas, but with more output going forward, I don't see AP's purpose in the squad. And that's actually something, listen, I have been one that I've been very critical of Andreas Pereira. The one thing that I will say is he has his ability to press. But if you have King with that ability, Jack, doesn't that make Pereira a player that you can actually maybe not need this upcoming season? And listen, I could talk to you about the free kicks that Pereira has done so far this preseason. They've not been good. So what do you make of this comment from Black, White, and Fred about Andreas Pereira and what King is now offering?
Do you know what? This is one of the best comments I've seen since I've started live streaming this summer, in terms of the realization that King at the age of 18 can offer very similar things on and off the ball
Yeah.
that Pereira can, with the enhancement of his on the ball abilities to create more, is a certain. Is I read that comment going, oh my word, you're right. Oh, have I gone again? Have I gone
No,
again?
no, you're here.
Are we good?
We're good.
Oh, okay. Generally, that is a question that the previous comment that came up is something that I would put to Silva. You know, if Pereira has left by then or is, I don't know, on the verge of leaving, I don't know, because it's all gone very quiet in terms of that.
Yep.
But King is raw, and Pereira's a little bit like, well, you know, that corner today that led to their goal was incredibly frustrating. And if you compare Pereira's performance and King's performance, two players who played in the exact same position,
That's right.
King won that competition in terms of his performance by a marathon, by a
Country
long
mile.
way.
Yep.
Country mile. That's the expression. So that's a very interesting point. And yeah, we played against not the best opposition today. We'll have tougher tests to come, and Pereira's more experienced. But King has no fear, and that is essentially what makes creative players so good, playing with no fear, and that could lead to more output in terms of assists and goals.
Right. And again, before you dropped off, I brought up Smith Rowe because I'm trying to see, because I imagine, even though I posed this question to you, could Josh King make the argument to be the number 10? I actually expect it to be Smith Rowe. What do you make of him playing more wide in these preseason friendlies?
Interesting, because I think on the left-hand side we're really, really short because we lost Willian and we've got Iwobi and no one really who could play on that side. You know, Sessegnon could play there, but he's more adept to play on the right in terms of when he plays in the wing. So I think it's probably, is it a message to the board? Perhaps Reece Nelson can play on the left. He's not here yet.
That's right.
So maybe it's just the fact of the matter is we're going to be playing 45 minutes of someone on the left wing and then 45 minutes of Iwobi. So someone's got to fill that spot with no Jedi. It's got to have to be Sessegnon at left back. Adama's more adept playing on the right, and then he replaces Wilson. Wilson out on the right. So suddenly you've got the left-hand side, and you can play Smith Rowe there. You could play Josh there. But I think Smith Rowe is probably, and I think he did very, very well. You know, he sort of he scored a goal from that position, albeit a little bit lucky, but I don't think Smith Rowe really put a foot wrong, and I think that's interesting. Does he have the enough speed and strength to sort of impress at this in the wing? Maybe he could turn into an Anthony Gordon sort of player, you know, who's not blessed with incredible pace as Gordon, but has got some upper body strength, which Smith Rowe certainly does have and needs to have more of. And then, you know what Gordon does and is doing. Right. He's one of the best wingers in the Premier League, Gordon. So it's an option. And then that would allow King to play in the 10 and compete with Pereira a little bit more. But that's right. Nelson's on the verge, I think, probably on the verge, which will change things around a little bit.
Right. And again, talk about Smith Rowe, Jack. One of the, I think, issues that Marco had with him last season was his ability to press. I think he got more involved with the press as the season went on. Maybe fitness was an issue with it. Have you seen an improvement from Smith Rowe with that part of his game? Because I think that's necessary in what Marco wants from that number 10. Okay, looks like Jack froze again. We're just continue to have problems with Jack's connection in Portugal. It's okay because I'm still going.
I'm still
doing. Oh, there we are. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay, Jack. Did you hear me ask you about the pressing from Smith Rowe?
I heard bits. And then I sort of flagged out of it.
Okay, so the question is, Marco really, I believe, wants his number 10 to not just be offensive-minded, but be able to do the press. Have you seen an improvement from the beginning of last season with Smith Rowe? And I don't think he was really up to fitness at that point, to the end of the season when he was pressing better. Do you think that can be part of his game? Because I think that's one of the reasons why he likes Pereira so much, is his pressing ability.
That's essentially what Smith Rowe needs to replicate. So basically what we would do is out of possession, we sort of play almost a 4-4-2 in the Premier League last season, where the striker, whether it be Raul or Muniz, presses from the front, and he's joined by that sort of second player playing as a 10 who sort of acts as the second striker. And then You've sort of got Harry Wilson and what we saw from TC as well. So all pressing from one side, essentially. So Smith Rowe tonight wasn't really involved in that when the ball was over on this side. But then TC comes across, and then you've got Lukic sort of sitting in midfield. TC comes across, helps with the press, and Fulham won the ball back 2 or 3 times in doing that. Smith Rowe will know that essentially is his role when he plays as the number 10. Can he be as effective in the press as Pereira is? Well, we saw a goal at Crystal Palace last season where he essentially won the ball off Lacroix.
That's
and then
right.
went on to score a great goal. So Smith Rowe's got it in his locker. It's just whether, if we lose Pereira, do we have 2 players in that same position who could do as good a job off the ball as Pereira? I'm certain they can do as good a job on the ball than Pereira. And then, of course, the more pressing they do, the better, because that is part of our game. We want to lay out traps. We don't want them to get out. And we did a good job of that tonight. So long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. Okay, one more talking point, then I want to just talk about some of the goals. And then at the end of the show, I have a special section that we're going to go through. So anyone that was on X saw Jack pretty much, I want to say around halftime, tweet this out. And I want to talk about it because I think it's something that I was thinking myself when he tweeted out. Was it because Fulham played well in the first half? Maybe a little bit of that, but maybe not. So I'm going to just share that really in just 1 second. And then I want to talk to Jack about his tweet. I'm going to read the tweet. Here it is. Okay. Jack tweets out, with a couple of quality additions, this is seriously a good squad. We already have a very impressive group of players, but just that added depth of talent will take the team with this manager to the next level. Okay, Jack, when you tweeted that out, my first thought was, yes, it's exactly what I'm thinking. They need the quality. What's interesting, I think that the foundation is there, Jack, but they need more quality. And I've used the term marquee players. I don't want nothing against Reece Nelson. I think that's another piece of the puzzle, right? But I want players that have that extra quality. So talk a little bit about why you tweeted that.
Well, I was probably blown away by the first half performance in terms of how impressed I was with the 11 that were out there and the quality of which we were attacking, and we scored 4 and it could have been more, and there was some mistakes at the back for sure, and that's going to come with the style of play that we play and the pressing style of Al Ittihad tonight, and I'm sure many Premier League teams. But at the time I was just thinking, God, we've made no outfield signings. We're playing very, very well against, I'd say, a decent level team with decent level players, certainly players who were used to be deemed as world class. And we're making this look incredibly easy. And if we were just to add a little bit of quality in these areas, in the forward areas, in the midfield areas, which I think the midfield is looking really, really good anyway, defensive areas, perhaps like a left back, to come in for, or if Robinson's fit, then I think we're all good in that department. But it just felt incredibly new and exciting. And when I say new and exciting, it's because we were seeing players, like Smith Rowe play out on the left. So we were seeing players like King play in the 10. And obviously Muniz, kept his place, but we haven't quite seen Raul yet. He's not quite ready. Right. But there's something there. And then obviously, I tweet that and I'm all excited. And then I watch the second half and I go, that's a performance that I've seen before from Fulham, just like off the pace a little bit, little bit sloppy in errors and stuff. So it's almost, this sort of Jekyll and Hyde sort of game. It was a complete, contrast from the first half. Then again, that's going to give Silva a huge sort of point to think about,
right?
Which is the players that I played in the first half did an outstanding job. Why was the foot taken off the gas in the second half? Was it because of the scoreline? I don't think it should be like that. You want to be absolutely on your game, even at 4-0 up with brand new players on the pitch. So whilst I still agree with what I tweeted, and I won't stand down from that, it probably highlighted it even more in the second half because we were so off it.
That's right. That's a good point, Jack. But honestly, watching the Nottingham Forest friendly, now watching this, I'm just talking about the first half. So you could see this cohesive team. It's there. It's already there. It's already established. I compare this, Jack, to when we came back in the Premier League with a brand new team. And I remember watching them again in Portugal play Benfica, and they looked horrible. And I'm thinking, this is going to be bad. And I feel the exact opposite. They look like a mid-table side right now, Jack. The question is, I don't want mid-table. I don't think you do either. I want a push for Europe. And if you bring in quality players to go along with what you have with this manager's, like you said, I think you can do that.
Look, I want us to first of all on the pitch improve as anyone would, but I want us to give a reason as to why Silva would go, oh, okay, I want to sign a new contract now, because I really believe in it. And look, there are definitely improvements that we've made on the pitch in terms of personnel, in terms of players who are getting better,
Yep.
and obviously players who are more adept at playing into different positions as well.
Okay.
I want Europe. I mean, you look at Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup, and I know that they're in that sort of situation right now, but let's just take it at face value. They won the FA Cup, they qualified for the Europa League, and they did that because they were on a remarkable FA Cup run. They dumped us out on the way in the quarterfinal. I want that. I'm jealous of that. There's no denying it. And I think every Fulham fan wants that. And we've been flirting with Europe in 2 of the last 3 seasons. And I think that certainly, if we are, like going back to that tweet, if we add quality, we're going to get better. And that will mean we've got a better chance. You know, Villa, Newcastle, I know Newcastle are going to be a topic of conversation because of the Muniz interest, but they've had terrible summers. And we've had good summers in retaining what we already have.
That's right.
But if we had to add better quality before the end of the window, I think it's a great window. The only issue is it's not in time for the opening game of the season, or it might not be in time.
I know. And I think that's what frustrates me, Jack, because I know the strategy of the club, especially the last 2 seasons, has been to basically play the window, and the players will become available. The further you go into the window, the prices will come down. So I understand what's going on. I know that they're going to get the players. The question is probably not if, it's just when, Jack.
Yeah, I think it's a waiting game. I think that Marco Silva has demanded quality players, and I think those sort of deals take time to get over the line. And I think that's probably why we've seen such a slow summer. And that you look at Nelson, it's a signing that Silva wants because he feels like maybe, you know, if he has an injury-free season, he's going to be electric for us. You look at Sterling, and you look at players like Sterling, and for me, I'm still sort of, one day I'm like, okay, and next day I'm like, oh, I think we could do better. And I think Sterling is probably an option, but I think there are probably other options further up the pecking order.
Yep.
We need to add quality in those wide areas.
Yep.
To score goals from wide areas, provide Muniz with assists, and Raul Jimenez with assists. And we haven't even talked about a third striker, which has all gone very, very quiet.
I know. And that's interesting because they definitely need a third striker. So whenever I hear the talk about Muniz, I even Newcastle that happened today, I just discount it because they can't afford to let Rodrigo Muniz go, Jack. And honestly, I don't think it would be fair to Marco to let this player that he's developed go to another side. You know, Fulham do all the work with Rodrigo to him to become the player that I think he's going to become. I don't see them doing it. That's why I think that they're going to add another striker. I don't see them moving on unless it was silly money. And I think you need silly money to even talk about Rodrigo Muniz, but I don't see that happening, my friend. Okay, listen, we got some really good comments. I'll be sharing them during the show, but I really want to get to just going through talk about the first half. We can really focus on that. I want to talk about the goal from Harry Wilson. I missed this because I was driving home. Could you just share your thoughts on the Harry Wilson goal and everything that he's been doing so far this preseason has been tremendous?
Yeah, I mean, 2 goals against Forest, 2 very good goals against Forest, and then I think this might be the pick of the bunch in terms of, I'm not a professional footballer, but whenever I try to kick the ball with the outside of my foot, I never get good contact on it. And the way he sort of pulls this in outside of the foot and it bends into the corner is genuinely delicious and beautiful. And it was sort of like, because of the reaction of Gentleman Jim, it's not going to be, shouting and hollering and screaming when we scored. It was almost like, oh, great goal. And I was like, oh my God, we scored. Like, it was almost like I had to sort of double take. the way that they hit the net, it didn't quite, even with the second goal, it didn't quite feel as if he'd
No.
scored. But what a goal it was. I mean, the technique that this player's got, and he's playing wide right and he's scoring goals from central areas, which means it's something that he spoke about before. You may have spoke about it with me about how he likes to drift inside and take shots on. And he's such a useful player to have outside the box, inside the box, and he's hitting 28, and I think that's peak years in terms of a footballer.
He's in his prime.
And to have him now, I know.
Yeah,
I agree. I 100% agree. Based off the last two friendlies, based off the headband, he looks like David Beckham when he played for Real Madrid. I mean, genuinely, with the all-white shirt, my stocks are in Harry Wilson so much this season, alongside Smith Rowe and alongside Josh King.
Yeah, listen. The great thing about Harry Wilson, and I'm glad that we're talking about this, is that he is entering his prime. 28 years old. He now looks like the finished product, Jack. He's ready to explode. That's why I'm glad that he is going to be, I think, a big part of Fulham's season. And I don't think this is an accident, what we're seeing in preseason. I just think this is now him becoming the player. And I look forward to us really seeing the best of Harry Wilson. I don't even think we have yet, and that's what's great about that. Let's now talk about the second goal. This looked like a cross, if I'm being honest. And like you said, Gentleman Jim didn't even realize it went in the back of the net.
Yeah.
But it did. But, regardless, whether it's an accident or not, it's a goal. But I do like the fact that Smith Rowe put it in the back of the net, Jack.
Yeah, I think he's looking to cross because Muniz is there, and then I think Wilson's there as well, sort of at the back post or making his way into the box. But the work to then get the cross away, it takes a little deflection, it loops in. These things happen quite often in football now. And I think there's certainly an element of luck to it, but also Smith Rowe, you make your own luck. And I think that he deserved a goal based off his performance. And I think that's going to do him the world of confidence. The expression, he just needs one to go off on his arse, is very much a case with a player like Smith Rowe, who doesn't score a ton of goals, but to get and hopefully kick on from there is incredibly encouraging.
Absolutely. Okay. So we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but we're having some technical difficulties. So let's go back. Let's talk about this great goal from Josh King. What's fantastic about it, I was telling my co-host Tony Gold about it, who was at work. He didn't see it. And I said, you have to see this goal because it was a great delivery from Tom Kearney. So, Jack, let's talk about the goal one more time from Josh King. Oh, looks like I lost Jack again. Just when I'm talking about Josh King, what is it about Josh King and Jack right now? So hopefully he'll be back with me shortly to talk about Josh King. But I will mention that shortly after that, we had Jorge Cuenca make it 4-0, and Fulham ended the half at up 4-0, and Jack's back. Jack, let's try one more time. I really want to get your take on Josh King. Every time we mention Josh King, for some reason, the connection goes, maybe that's a sign. I don't know what kind of sign. Give me your thoughts on the goal from Josh King set up by Kearney. This to me just shows, as an 18-year-old, an instinctive goal.
Yeah. He knows where to be in the box. As a number 10, your role is to almost be that second striker, not necessarily be the second striker, but play that role where you make your way to the box. And it's almost like I know Sessegnon doesn't score many volleys as such, but it's almost like
similar.
Sessegnon like to get into the box, and I think that's Josh's role. Marco's probably gone, look, whenever a ball's out wide, get into the box. Delicious ball from TC. Defender doesn't pick up Josh King. It's a great finish. I mean, you could easily sort of blaze that over. You could get little contact on it and it'd still go wide. You could sort of let it bounce across yourself, and then it's sort of the chance is gone. But it's just a fantastic finish, and another goal for King. I think he scored against Aberdeen, and that's the first one we got to see in the flesh. Yep. And that senior goal, whether it comes in August or May, hopefully comes very, very soon for Fulham.
Right. And I just shared this a second ago. I want to get your thoughts on this again. Black, White, and Fur bring this up. This is the type of goal you expect from a number 10, Jack, correct? And I think this is what we're kind of missing, because when we look at Fulham's attack, Pereira's not doing it nearly enough, maybe basically not at all. I mean, he scores a few goals, but this is what I think we're all chiming for from a number 10. I'll go back to Fabio Carvalho. There's a little bit of that here.
Yeah. Yeah, Fabio likes to pop up in the box. We saw a header against Birmingham in a 5-6-2 win with Fabio Carvalho. And we saw a clip from training of Josh King sort of scoring a floating header. I know he's unmarked because there's no one in the box in terms of it's a training drill. But, that's probably, again, Marcus Silva's got in his ear and said, whenever the ball goes wide, get in there. He's growing. He hasn't stopped growing. He's going to probably stop growing at 22, 23. So he's definitely got some height to go and some growing to do. So he could be a threat from set pieces to get his headers in. So, yeah, encouraging. And again, that ball comes in, you could stoop a header, but he's gone with a volley because he knows instinctively that's the one to go with. And we saw it at the under-21s, getting into the box and scoring goals. And to do it at the first team and do it at such an early stage in being incorporated to the first team is only encouraging. And I had to remind myself, I said that on my own stream, he signed a 4-year deal. This is not like, let's hope no one poaches him next summer. 4 years. 4 years. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I totally agree with you. While you cut out, I did mention the Cuenca goal. So very quickly, because I want to end this show talking about this other section that I have for us. So let's just talk about the second half. You have the 2 goals from Karim Benzema, but there really isn't a lot to take out of that, Jack.
I spent most of the second half sort of writing up a report and sort of if German Jim started to sound like there was a chance, I'd sort of click back to the stream. Lecomte made a good save for the penalty. That's obviously encouraging. A save right at the end as well to deny them to make it 4-3. But apart from that, Fulham, Adama Traore had a shot on target. Muniz almost followed in. A volley from Adama Traore as well. So 2 efforts saved. And apart from that, it was like a training game, and it was. That shouldn't have happened because there was 9 and then 11 fresh players on the pitch.
Yep. No, very good there, Jack. Okay, good stuff. All right, coming up next, Jack and I are going to end this show by talking about the standout players from this friendly for Fulham. Okay, Jack, let's finish up this show.
Standout player for me.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Standout player for me was Josh King. For me, he made things happen. And that is encouraging.
Okay. I'm going to throw a couple names at you. We've already talked a little bit about Harry Wilson. Would you put Harry Wilson in that category as well?
Yeah, him and Kearney made things happen today. Wilson looked very, very, very energized from the start. TC, I thought, held his own in midfield, controlled it very well, spraying the passes out wide like he does, and then sort of helping out in the press as well, which was really encouraging to see. I think Sasha Lukic was getting sort of on the wrong side of the referee. There was a couple of times where he was like, hey, this is not a foul. I don't think he did get booked to the end. I tweeted he got booked, but I don't think he did. But certainly a funny one.
Okay, now I don't think we should put him in the standout player category, but what do you make so far of the preseason of Rodrigo Muniz? Because I still see the player working extremely hard. I think these are valuable minutes, Jack, that he's playing now because Raul didn't feature in the last match coming back from his time in the Gold Cup. I think one of the problems Fulham had last season was Rodrigo Muniz did not start the season strong. I think having some really good friendlies underneath his belt with the minutes, I think, are more important than, I would say, scoring goals in friendlies. So I think him playing is very important and playing a lot of minutes. Would you agree?
Muniz is not the finished article, but he's shown signs that he can be a top Premier League striker in the few years he's been at Fulham, especially last 2 seasons where he scored goals. I know what you mean. Like, whenever Muniz is on the pitch, I think he can score, but I'm never thinking this guy's going to score. It's like he can score. And the reason why I think that obviously I want to hold on to him because I think he's a great player, and obviously he's
Yep.
one of very few strikers we've got. But I think if Newcastle did go for him and signed him, he's not going to make the impact that Isak made. He's not
No.
going to be a good replacement. Sorry, he's not going to be a replacement that's going to set the world alight. I mean, he went for a purple patch at Fulham and won Player of the Month, deservedly so. I
Yep.
think with Muniz, the perfect manager to be managing Muniz is Marco Silva. He's not the finished product, but he's getting there.
I totally agree. All right. Good stuff from you, Jack. Let's wrap this up. Before we end this episode of Cottage, I want to really thank Jack for joining us. Like I said, he did his own stream, and then he came and joined me. He's breaking news about a player that he's already interviewed. I can mention that it was Harry Wilson. So please, on the scroll here, join his Patreon, because you definitely are going to want to check that out. There's another player that basically I can't say who it is, or you'd have to kill me. I can't say it. I can't say the other name, but I'm going to tell you that you're definitely going to want to hear both of these interviews. So please do check out Jack's Patreon account. He's doing a great job. And Jack, I just want to thank you before we go, regardless of the technical issues. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always wonderful having you on the show. I hope you can join me a lot during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully next time I might be back home, so hopefully the internet's a little bit more stable. But thank you so much for having me. I always love coming on. And look, the World Cup's in America next year. Some of the World Cups in America, you might see me in and around the World Cup space. You never know.
Wow. Well, that would be great. There are going to be I think that there are 6 matches, or it might even be 8 matches here where I live, literally down the street from me. So I'm excited for that. Before we go, I do want to mention one thing. I've been teasing this. On Friday, I have a huge announcement, and it's actually a couple parts that I'll be announcing, and I look forward to bringing that to everyone. And I think it takes Cottage Talk to the next level. You'll be seeing that on all of social media on Friday. I'm dropping it on Friday. There's a video that's going along with it, with a special guest who's part of this big announcement. And I look forward to bringing that to you. But let's wrap this up. For Jack Kelly, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the Talk Sport Fan Network.